I think we're live. See?
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to HY Dyslexia Live Show. Today's show is just going to be absolutely phenomenal. I say this every week, but today's show is really, really, really special. Thank you for joining us. If you just joined us, stay attentive, do not move. And if you want to move, go make your cup of tea or coffee or whatever you want to make and come back and join us, because today's show will really have you literally with your jaw dropped. We've got the lovely Dr. Tracy Johnson, who's joined us all the way from, now let me get this right, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Got that word right. Bit of a mouthful, I managed to say it. Dr. Tracy Johnson, welcome to HY Dyslexia Live Show. It's such an honor to have you on the show today. I don't normally say this evening because so many people are watching from different countries. So for us in the UK, it's 7 p.m. In America, it's a different time. Other countries are all different times. So I normally say it's really amazing to have you on the show. Such an honor. I met you online on Facebook, maybe about 5-6 years ago. I was finding my journey as a dyslexic person. I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to be the only Black person with dyslexia, especially Black women. So I thought, oh, who else can I find that must be going through dyslexia at the time? And the first thing I Googled was a Black person with dyslexia. And guess what? You came up. And I thought, oh, there is somebody. So Black people do get dyslexia. Before I actually got diagnosis, I didn't really think, I didn't know what it was, to be honest with you. I know I'm sounding a little bit naive, but I didn't know what dyslexia was. But when I did find you and read a bit about your story, I was ready to share mine. And speaking to you today, I just want to say thank you so much for being the voice for dyslexia in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, because you changed my life completely. You completely changed my life. And I want to say welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your journey and yourself, please, Dr. Tracy.
Well, first, I'm extremely humbled by what you said. I'm extremely humbled by that. I know you share probably the same type of heart-wrenching stories of going through school and the challenges that we went through school and not knowing, probably sometimes not knowing our purpose, because we struggle with a learning disability. And for me, going through school, I didn't find out I was dyslexic until I was out of high school. So I did not get any services in school. Here in the States, they have something called pretty much the LD or learning disability kind of track, or learning disability services kind of. But if you're not identified as having which type of learning disability you have, it's hard for the teachers. And we have some wonderful teachers out here. And in fact, I actually experienced some special ed teachers. But again, that's like sending a doctor, a general practice doctor, in to operate, and you need a heart surgeon. So we have some wonderful teachers, but sometimes they're just not given the right tools to help the kids that's needed. So for me, that's basically how it went. I went throughout school. I was identified as having a learning disability, but not really identified as having dyslexia until I was out of high school, and I went on my own journey to find out why I was not able to read, write. In fact, some places in my life, I even contemplated suicide.
Wow!
Because of my struggle.
Let me stop you there a minute, because you're such an inspiration person to many dyslexics, particularly from the Black community. And I just want to read a little bit about your biography, just a little bit, before we actually dive into the real story of why Vessels of Hope. Okay. Dr. Tracy Johnson was featured in HBO Documentary, Journey with Dyslexia, Great Minds Think Differently. Now, that must have been the video I watched. I watched the video with a young girl growing up with dyslexia and all the challenges she went through. Now, Dr. Tracy Johnson is the founding president and CEO of Vessels of Hope, a not-profit organization that helps individuals with learning disabilities. Her hometown is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She's also a professor at Harcum College and an enrollment counselor at Eastern University. She has received an associate's degree in liberal studies with a minor in Women's Studies from Harcum College,
Mhm.
a Bachelor of Arts degree in Psychology with a minor Human Resource Management from, I can't say this word, but I'll try. Maybe you can say it for me.
Cabrini University. Mhm.
Cabrini University. Now, part of my dyslexia is pronunciation. I've always had a problem with
It's
pronunciation.
okay.
How it's written, I say it differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she has a master's degree in multicultural education from Eastern University and a doctorate degree in ministry science from Accelerated School of Christian Ministry International.
Yes.
Now, that was a bit of a mouthful. Now, I read that and I thought, wow, with all the challenges of dyslexia and specific learning difficulties, you managed to do this and you're still studying, I guess, you know. So
Yeah.
from here now, from moving on with the show, I want to hear a little bit about your story. Now,
Okay.
starting off with the first question of who you are, what you do, and why you came to set up Vessels of Hope.
I again thank you for that wonderful introduction. And again, my name is Dr. Tracy Johnson, and I like my wonderful sister said, I'm the founding president of Vessels of Hope. And the reason why I actually it was a journey of going into kind of setting up Vessels of Hope, because honestly, just like you, I didn't see anybody that looked like me. I was called actually once I was blessed to be a part of the HBO documentary called Journey into Dyslexia. I found myself speaking to audience kind of all over the country somewhat. But I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. I was speaking to the parents and the families that were out there getting their children resources, getting their children help, getting their children what they needed, but I didn't see any kids that looked like me. And I know the struggle that I went through as a child. I'm sure there was a large population of African Americans, brown and black, that had the same struggle of dealing with dyslexia. And I felt compelled to get this information that I was blessed to receive to that audience, to those families, to those educators. Because again, I didn't want anybody to feel what I felt growing up as a child in the public school systems. So my desire to again, after it kind of evolved. Vessels of Hope really evolved into what I feel as though is a calling for me, a ministry for me, because again, this information needs to get to our community, because I know with my mother, if she had the tools and the resources that some of the other parents had, I know I wouldn't have struggled as much as I struggled. So.
Right. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. Now, it brings me on to my first question. When did you find out about your dyslexia, and how was dyslexia viewed at that time? I know you said it wasn't when you were a child, but how old was you when you found out that you had dyslexia?
I graduated from high school at that time, so I probably was about 20, 19, 20, and I had to find out my own. It was I saw an old episode on the on a TV show, and it was talking about this person's challenges with dyslexia, and I'm like, that kind of sounds like me. And truthfully, at the time, I was a janitor in the school system. I was cleaning classrooms because I thought that's pretty much all I could do.
Right.
Because actually, after high school, I tried to go to our local community college, and I had a counselor there who yelled and screamed and said, "How'd you get here? How'd you get this far? Who told you can be here?" And it just continued to beat on my self-esteem and my self-worth. And I felt as though, because I had a high school teacher actually told us the same thing. We would never be able to go to college. College was just not for us because of the challenges we had. So that self-esteem and that self-worth constantly was a barrier, because all of us who are dyslexic, we know that we're smart, but sometimes we don't always know how to access the tools that we need to show our intelligence.
That's right. Yeah. So when you find out about dyslexia, how did it make you feel? What was the first thing that came to your mind? And who actually, kind of find out who helped you along the way? to find out about dyslexia? Because I know you in your video or in the documentary I watched, you talked about a special lady that was there for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So getting identified as being dyslexic, it's an organization which now I am a board member of. It's called the International Dyslexia Association. And I was able to find that organization here, and we have a local branch here, which I am a part of. And I actually kind of took a journey because I lived in the inner city. This place was out in the suburbs, but I took the journey out there to actually get myself identified and tested. And that's how I found out I was dyslexic. They also had a list of tutors on that list, tutors and resources somewhat. So I just start calling people by faith. I start calling people, and I called this woman by the name of Judith Mazer. Judith is still in my life, like a mother to me. She started tutoring me with a program called the Wilson Reading System. And that is a reading program for, particularly for students that are dyslexic. So again, what it is a multi-sensory approach to teaching, learning, teaching spelling and reading. So she actually worked with me probably, I don't know, about 2 or 3 years before I even had the courage to go back to college.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's just so awesome. I mean, we just had a wonderful message from someone called, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, Rosalind Abigail Che Nate. She said, I find out I'm dyslexic at the age of 30. That's the happiest day of my life because I finally realized the cause. Now, isn't it beautiful when you actually find out that, because no one really talks about dyslexia.
No one really talks about it. And for me, it was like a light went on. Like, I finally know what I have. I'm not stupid. I'm not slow. I have dyslexia. I am dyslexic. So yeah. Absolutely.
And it's amazing to have seen that comment from Rosalind just now, because when I was growing up, there was nothing discussed about this. You know, my parents wouldn't have known, the school wouldn't have known, no one would have found out about this. And I think sometimes it really gets me upset to know that I was walking around with my condition is more than one. I have about 4 or 5 different conditions in one. I don't know about you. Is it just dyslexia for you, or is that other specific level?
Sometimes I feel I have ADHD, dyslexia, maybe some other things. I don't know. I might have to add my own diagnosis. But
I know. Honestly, because it's not just like one thing.
It's a lot of comorbidity with dyslexia. And
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rosalind is sending another message again. She's commented with another message. Up until I got to know, I accept people's voices that describe me as lazy, stupid, good for nothing. I mean, I thank you so much, Rosalind, for sharing that with us. Because for me, it was more like I was more the distractive. I was always the one that was causing trouble in the class. So I remember even at home, my parents thought there was something wrong with me. You know, so what's wrong with this child of ours? You know, there's something that isn't right, but they couldn't figure it out. I was called lazy. I was called stupid. I was called dumb. I was called whatever. Even if when I'm contributing to a conversation, they'd be like, "What do you know? Just go away." And finding out that you can be Black and still have dyslexia, me was like, right, okay, let me go and do something about this. And that's why HY Dyslexia was set up. Because when back in the 80s, I didn't think that it was something that I would have got or you would have got, for example. Which was, sometimes it does get me down a bit, but hey, we're here now.
We're here now. That's right. And we're awesome contribution to society. As we look at individuals with dyslexia. And the thing is that, again, you can tell someone that they're sick. Okay, you're sick, but where's the illness? Is it in my hand, in my leg? You're not identifying where it is. So that is the issue, even with dyslexia. Oh, you have a learning disability, but where is it? You know, what is it? Why am I not comprehending and learning and spelling and reading like everyone else? What is the disconnect? So when we identify, because I don't know how it's there, but here in the States, they go back and forth. Oh, I don't want my child labeled. I don't want to be labeled. The label. But sometimes the label is there, just like any other diagnosis. Okay, you have this particular disease. This is the type of medicine you need. So if you have the particular identification, meaning the label dyslexia, then okay, how do I treat it? Then we can get the proper diagnosis or the proper treatment to help us. If not, we're just throwing things out there. We're just throwing resources out here. I mean, maybe this will help you. Maybe that will help you. Maybe this type of print will help you. All those types of things. No, let's kind of identify what it is and get the resources that I need so I can move on. So
it's really interesting you say that, because back in the UK here, if you've got dyslexia, the school could help you to go for assessment. A lot of the rich people would just perhaps ring us. They'll ring A2I Dyslexia and they'll say, look, my child's got dyslexia. How much is it? They'll pay for it. Now, I can imagine in America, things might be slightly different.
A lot different. A lot different.
Tell me a little bit about this.
It's more so a social economic status here, Red. It's not really it's more of a class status here. So if you have the money, if you have the resources, you're going to be connected with a private school, probably more so a private LD school. You can get your child into a private LD school. If you're more in the low income neighborhoods, you probably can get the testing. In some areas they can't even say dyslexia, but they will say a specific learning disability. They will identify you as having that. So you may be able to get some special ed resources or special ed taken out of your regular ed class and put into, working with a special ed teacher. And that could be whatever little time that they have during the week to do that. But again, knowing the way that we think and the way that we need to take in information is always a lot slower. So that little bit of time in school, we need a lot more support than that. So again, that's when sometimes the private tutors come in and that extra support. But if you don't have the money, then most private tutors start $75, $100, $200 an hour. So if it's a single parent home, where is that additional resource coming from? And that's the challenge. And that's what continues to bridge that gap between the haves and the have-nots. And then we go on to other challenges, because again, we all know if a kid's not reading, kid's not writing, what kind of interest they're really going to have in school and how are they going to excel? We're going to talk about that question a little later on, but it's a slippery slope for a lot of, and most of the kids look like us that fall into those categories.
So there's a lot of within the Black community where people may have dyslexia and really just can't afford to go for the services. So what do you think is likely to happen? I mean, I know that in the UK, there's 3 ways one could go. Either the prison system, because you didn't really do very well, the criminal justice system. The other was long-term unemployment, so you end up on benefits and, you try to find your way. And the other is mental health, which can be really, really devastating for some people.
We have a study here called the prison to pipeline, and most of our kids fall into that prison to pipeline. There's a higher rate of students with learning disabilities or dyslexia, that type of category, dropping out of school earlier. So that right there is that gap to prison and pipeline. Also, like you mentioned, they either some of our girls end up dropping out and going on something, like you said, like public assistance and something like that. And then it just builds another generation of individuals that feel like they're hopeless.
Right. So really, when you think about it, the UK is quite blessed, really, because there's a lot of stuff that we can get that, I say free, and people say, actually, it's not free. It's tax, one taxpayer's money, and it's also, the government will make sure that you would get the support for some people. For example, when I went to university, I got the support I needed. Now, for that support that I got, I ended up doing quite well for myself. If I had to pay for that, I don't think I'd be able to afford it at the time. In the schooling system, if the school picks up the dyslexia, again, sometimes we have parents go, actually, don't label my child, there's nothing wrong with my child. And there are some cases that parents would actually take it on board and go for the help they need. So it's quite different, isn't it? I mean, before we move on swiftly, that somebody came on called Tina Carney, and I just want to say, Tina, we weren't ignoring you. I just really wanted to kind of get into the conversation. It's amazing to hear Dr. Tracy talk about her journey. And I think Tina's comment was yes. I don't know what she meant by yes, but maybe yes. She's found some kind of conversation that she can now maybe have with family or workplace or wherever it might
Right.
be. We just have Kate joined us. Kate, I'm very sorry, I'm going to try and pronounce your surname. Kate Kasubarski. Yeah, that's it. I've done it. Yeah. So she said yes to all you just said. We also have an identification problem where children are labeled as having a behavioral issue before learning disabilities even.
That's right. That's right.
evaluated.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
I mean, it just makes sense. That happens to a lot of children. It just makes sense. If a child's not learning like their peers and keeping up with their peers, they're going to act out. Here, definitely, I mean, with me, I was real quiet. I was nice. So they just kept kind of pushing me along. Then they realized I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't reading anything. And then they, wanted to get me tested for, again, just a general learning disability. But a lot of our African American boys run into that behavior problem where they're labeling them as ADHD or they're having behavior problems, and it could be just dyslexia. It could be dyslexia and not the behavior problem, but they're acting out because they're not learning. So it's a vicious cycle. And that's when they start to build that prison to pipeline system, because they're acting out. Most of them end up dropping out. So they're out there on the streets just wandering around trying to find who they are.
Exactly. I mean, we have similar story here where a lot of people would just drop out of school. I mean, I can't remember how many years ago it is now, but I know some time ago you were in education till 16. Then you left to do whatever you want. And then I think the government changed that. Now you got to be in education till you're 18. Now, sometimes people would have dropped out. I mean, I dropped out like 15 and I left. I was like, my own thing. But some people may come to university, they don't even know they've got dyslexia along that way. And then they'll actually just say for me, they'll drop out. And all sorts of different things can happen. And this is why I emphasize that I'm always saying, if you feel or you think you might have dyslexia, just seek help. It's the answer. I always say this on the show. Go and seek help. It can be done confidential. No one has to know about it if you don't want no one knowing about it. Because once you get that help, you can excel. Like Dr. Tracy Johnson, your CV, when I saw your CV, I went, OMG. This is how and I always aspire to be just what you've done, with all your degrees and all the stuff that you've learned, and you've given myself and so many people hope and courage to keep going. So thank you so much. But I'm going to go on to our second question very quickly because I know time's not on our side. So did you get support at school, and what are your memories of school life? Please tell me the turning point in your life with dyslexia. I think you've touched up a little bit on that, haven't you?
Yes, just a little bit. In school, lower school, elementary, middle school, things like that. I was again a special ed class, but again, wonderful teachers, but they did not have all the tools that they needed to give me the support that I needed as a dyslexic individual. So therefore, when I got out of school, that's when my journey began. And that's when that was the turning point for me. Number one, the turning point was identifying what I had. And that was knowing that I was dyslexic. And then at that point, I embraced it because I wanted to know, because I felt like I missed so much not knowing. And I embraced it. I actually found all the resources. Again, my tutor. Then I had family members who encouraged me to go back to college. And once my aunt, she encouraged me to go to Harcum. And I ended up graduating Harcum with the highest grade point average because of the tutoring service. I graduated with a 4.0 average. It's because of the services. And as you know, most of us who are dyslexic, we work probably twice as hard or 3 times as harder as the average student. So I just embraced education because we actually love to learn. We love to grow. That's a passion that most of us have, but we just can't access it like everyone else.
Absolutely. Wow. So how did your parents feel? How was it for your parents? Before I go into that question, Rosalind's just dropped another comment here. So it's so surprising when I began talking about dyslexia, people hang on, let me read this right. I just have to laugh here. This is when it goes on madly, by the way. So Rosalind says, it is so surprising that when I began talking about dyslexia, most people in Ghana thought dyslexia was a disease. Abigail, Rosalind, I can 100% get where you're coming from.
She's right.
Another thing is when parents accept their children may be dyslexic, the helping assistant here is nothing to write about. And this saddens me a lot. but there is hope. That is why this has been a calling, and I will never stop until I bring much awareness, adequate support to Guardian. Oh, that's awesome. And African entirely. I know this sounds huge, but I believe we can do it together, and all of us can obviously come together and make this work. Do you know what, Rosalind, Abigail, that's exactly like me.
Yep, me too.
To be honest with you, I think a lot of Black communities, you find that people would think, well, what kind of illness is that? Then they probably start praying for you. I mean, I know that I've heard stories where people have gone into church to get prayers for their children because they believe that it's a curse, and they can pray and it can it just doesn't disappear like that. And I normally say that someone once said to me that they prayed and it went, and I said, well, do you know, whatever prayer you said, can I have the same? Because all the prayer, and it's still where it is. But it doesn't make.
But the thing is, that's what we need to change. We need to change the stigma. We need to change the view of dyslexia. We're not broken. We do not need to be fixed. This is the way God created our brain, and this is the way that we function. And again, we're all created, as we know, differently. So yes, our brains are created differently, and it's okay. That's why we really have to continue to, band together, get that word out, that it's not a disease. It's not anything we're not broken. We don't need to be fixed. It's just the way our brain is wired. And we have such creativity. We have such a gift sometimes to really give society, because we think outside the box, and that's needed. We have engineers, we have inventors. Einstein was dyslexic. There were so many dyslexic minds that created nuances in this world. They were already created, but the thing is that our brain was used.
One that Tina Carney's just put a message in. How can we help more students who are dyslexic or struggling readers? How can we get schools to help and provide evidence-based instructions? Which countries are paying attention and prioritizing? To be honest with you, that's not a question we can answer right now, Tina, but I get the point you're trying to make. Because the more support that students can get, the better it will be. I'm so sorry to cut you there, Dr. Tracy. It's really important. I read that before it disappeared.
That's fine.
I know that in the UK, a lot of people would just save up the money and go and get the help they need. Now, I've always said, if I become a millionaire or billionaire one day, I'd want to solve a few problems, because once the help is there, I can't even describe what it feels like to be identified. Dyslexia, it's such a beautiful, amazing, it's such a weight off your shoulders, and
that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a weight off your shoulders, because again, once you tell the person exactly what's going on, it is a relief, because they feel that time I was trapped. I'm just this dumb, lazy, stupid person, which I was told, but that's just the opposite. Letting me know what's going on begins that journey and that light. Like, wait a minute, I'm not all those things that people said I was. I'm dyslexic.
But you know what it is? Because dyslexia is seen as a white issue and not so much of a Black issue. There's not so much representation of a lot of Black people out there talking about dyslexia. And I think because of that, people may even feel different or may struggle in school, but they can't really know what it is, because there ain't enough representation out there of Black people to know that actually, okay, this is the problem and I need to go for help. And this is why you and I are going to make a change in this world.
That's right. That was the exact, that was my passion for starting Vessels of Hope, because number one, we felt like broken vessels, but now that we know what's going on, we can build something unique that was already in us. But again, speaking to our community, knowing that we're not the only one, sharing this information with parents, with teachers, with our community. I go to churches, I go to community centers. I spoke in St. Croix, one of the Virgin Islands, about this. So it's not just, it's not just our little circle. And again, it's not our counterparts only their problem. It's not a white problem. It's not a Black problem. Anybody can have dyslexia.
Absolutely. But
And
it's
it's like,
knowing
why?
that you have this condition.
Knowing that you have it. So why aren't the resources or the information ready available to us?
Absolutely.
That is
But
the
the
social issue.
Absolutely, definitely agree with that. I think the next question then is, how is dyslexia viewed within the Black community in Pennsylvania, and what help is available? I think you've touched up on that a little bit,
Yeah.
but maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that as well for us. Yeah.
Again, like I say, mainly in the Black community, like I said it before, it's more of a social economic issue. So more Black and brown children, families fall in that category. So that gap, that achievement gap is there because we don't have the resources to take our kids, put our kids in these private schools for LD students a lot. There may be some, but there's not a large amount of Black or brown students able to attend those schools. And if so, they may get a grant. The ones that may likely end up in those schools, they may get a grant for about a year or so, but then they're transitioned out of that school back into the public schools. So it's not something, if the parents and the families, they don't have the money, they don't have the resources, the child's not going to permanently stay there to grow like some of our white counterparts.
Right. Okay. Right. So tell me a little bit about Vessel of Hope. Why did you set up Vessel of Hope? Which I think you've touched up again.
Yes, because the same reason, that passion was there. I did not see a lot of people that looked like me in the conversations that I was having in the speaking engagements that I was privileged enough to get a platform to speak at, in which, again, I love talking to those audiences, but I know that there was a audience out there, a community out there that needed the information that I had or that I was able to get. And I know my community needed this information. So that's why I started Vessels of Hope. And what Vessels of Hope is, it's an organization we do resources, referral services. We do educational resources, outreach, just sharing information about what dyslexia is, what type of services or what type of tutoring a student would need, and just encouraging, empowering, because it weighs, as you know, it weighs so much on our emotional state. It weighs so much on our self-esteem. And my desire is really to build up our community in that area. I see so many students and even adults that feel, because of this challenge, they feel like they are worth nothing. They're broken. And my desire is to build and encourage them and let them know that's not who you are as a person. Dyslexia does not identify you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Abigail had a message. She did actually send a message on here, Rosalind Abigail rather, and I think something about how the Black community can support each other. I think it's come back again. Let's rise amazing. I hope I've said that right. Amazing Black community. Let's raise amazing Black community. No, Lizzie, that's not how it's rated. Let's raise amazing Black community of amazing dyslexics that the world can make reference soon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did say to you, I didn't start reading to the age of 15. So I'm doing very well at the moment,
You're doing good.
Sometimes I say to myself, because we're trying to focus here, and then this one's coming, which is brilliant. I love the comments. Please keep them coming. If you've just joined us now, we're talking about the success story of Dr. Tracy Johnson, who's got dyslexia and who has turned her life around with all the support she needs at school, education, in the home, and obviously for the support of friends and family as well. Because that sometimes that's really important. It depends on how your friends see you, or how your family see you. Because in the past I've had friends that, oh, come on, you can't be dyslexic. Come on, you don't want that label on you. And that can be, you can be in a very dark place, and sometimes you can start believing that actually it is just a myth, but it isn't. I know that it's real.
That's right. We used to, some comments that we get a lot are, how can you be dyslexic? You speak so well. You don't look dyslexic. What am I supposed to look like? 3 eyes, 4 noses? Like, what am I supposed to look like if I'm dyslexic? And what am I supposed to sound like? we're highly educated, we're highly intelligent. It's not, it's not a deformity. That's the issue. That's why we have to change the stigma. Again, it's not an issue or a problem that needs to be corrected. Our brain does not need to be rewired. This is the way we were born.
Absolutely. And what a better time to talk about Black and dyslexic at the moment, as well as your journey, because of everything that's going on. Black Lives Matter. And, we're talking about racism in the workplace. So can you imagine if someone, you're Black, you're dyslexic, you're a woman or a man, it doesn't matter, what gender you might be. And you've got 3 or 4 different issues going on. So sometimes dyslexia is left in the back burner. No one wants to talk about that yet. You just want to deal with all the other stuff that are going on. You don't want like racism in the workplace, as well as trying to talk about your dyslexia and all the other things that you might be going through. But I think as of today, if somebody's watching and you've got a condition called dyslexia, or you think you might have dyslexia, the only thing I can say to you is please seek help. Because once you go for that help, honestly, the world's your oyster. We've got a doctor in the house here. We've got Will Smith, who's an actor, who's dyslexic. I mean, you're in America, you could probably tell me more dyslexic, Black people with dyslexia than I could probably list for you. I know in the UK, we've got an amazing person called, he's the film director for 12 Days of Slavery. I can't remember his name. Yeah. And I know he's got dyslexia and he's doing really well. We've got other people like Sean Douglas, who's got podcast. I think he calls it Codpast because of dyslexia. It gets a bit muddled up. And there's a lot of, Black people doing very well with dyslexia. Yes, and as the show going along, we're going to be having some amazing people coming to ATI Dyslexia Live Show to talk about their journey of dyslexia. And I think Rosalind dropped another message. Yeah. She said, our best friend says I'm not dyslexic because I'm the smartest person she knows. I've explained to her several times, but she still thinks it's an illness. And she doesn't want her friend to be part of it. Okay. All right, that's cool. Yeah, I don't think it's such
again, it's changing that stigma. It's not an illness. It's not anything that we're broken. We don't need to be fixed. It's the way we're wired. And sometimes we can identify. Sometimes it's frustrating for us, but we don't allow that to stop us.
Absolutely.
Because, again, we're extremely intelligent. We're extremely intelligent, and dyslexics have above average to average intelligence. So therefore, it's not an intelligence issue. It's not an illness. So,
absolutely. And, if you come from the Black community, yes, we do have dyslexia. And yes, there is help out there. And yes, do go for it. And yes, you can make a change in the world once you get that help. Because if you don't really do anything about it, Dr. Tracy Johnson and I can tell you what can happen. And I know that at some point I was going through some severe depression and anxiety issues. And I couldn't really perform in the things I was supposed to be doing until I spoke about it. I was so free. But once I was able to talk about dyslexia and one for the help. So Dr. Tracy, tell me one moment of your life of a successful journey of being a dyslexic. What's one pinnacle moment that you can think of?
That's hard to say. It was a few. I mean, actually, achieving a college degree, my first college degree, was a turning point that, again, I was always told that there was something out of my reach. And with the support, with the help, with the tutor I had, with the support I had in school, and also here, I always tell students, I said, try to choose the right school for you. You may not be able to go to a large university where there's a lot of people, but if it's a small university or a small college where, again, it's more individualized, you get that connection. Those are the things that will help us, and those are the things that we can do to those things that can support us. But right there, getting that degree, I felt like I won the lottery probably, because it was something that, again, I was told that, oh, this is not for you. Don't worry about that. Oh, go work with your hands, things like that. But I always knew something inside, like, I can do this. I can do this. Yeah. I just need the right help. I need the right support, but I can do this.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, you don't just have one degree. You've got more than one, haven't you? You got more than on, and it's so inspiring, really
Yeah.
inspiring to hear that. Now, what if somebody's watching and they say, well, actually, I don't want to do the university route, but I still got dyslexia. What
Mhm.
shall I do? What do you
And
think? What's
that's
the best
okay.
advice?
Yeah. The university, again, that's the track that you want to be on. Don't don't let dyslexia stop you. But if it's something else, I, there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of dancers, whatever creativity that you have, go in that track. But also be able to find that support in those areas as well as a dyslexic, because we still have the not challenge, but we're going to still be faced with reading, writing, and spelling, no matter what area we go into. So I'm always a large supporter in getting allies, getting someone to walk this journey with you. And I'm sure it may be a few people, but connecting with resources like this, connecting with resources on social media, dyslexic organization, whatever you can find, to help you, like, okay, maybe look up dyslexic artists, dyslexic painters, sculptures, whatever field it is that you have that passion with. Even if, try to find those allies and that support to help you in whatever area you want to go into.
Right. Which leads me on to, okay, we've just got Kate back again, who's asked a question. All right. So I've heard many parents say that the colleges and universities offer more support and services for people with dyslexia than elementary. I guess she's in America, middle and high school provided. Tracy
And
Johnson,
she's right.
You'd be able to explain that better than me, because she's obviously this
Yeah,
message
she's right.
from. Yeah.
She's right.
So what should one do if they find
I
themselves?
actually did find more support in college.
Yeah,
It wasn't the only support, but I still work with my outside tutor in school, in college, but also resources in school was more accessible in college than they were in elementary school and high school. Mhm.
I think we probably have the same. I think in the UK, you can get some parents get their help from school, like if it's identified early on. I mean, it's not something that happens overnight. Sometimes it's a long
Right.
wait list. And then primary school is quite good. I think secondary, you might sort of struggle a little bit to get the help. Some parents will shout from the top of the mountain, say, "Look, it's who shout the loudest, get the
Yes.
support." In the UK. And then I find that university was like, whoa, this is a complete different world for me. I never wanted to leave uni. You know how some people are so desperate to leave? I wanted to carry on with it because the help was there. And and I was able to access that help. I'll be a liar if I said to you, university was smooth sailing, because it wasn't.
No, not at all.
I had my fair share of tears, I had my fair share of failing and resitting and all that goes with it. But one thing I wasn't going to do was give up.
That's right. That's
I've
right.
got to see to the end, and I'm glad I did that. And it's such an honor to be able to help so many other people. We're in London, so in Wandsworth or wherever, when people need help, they can come to us. And again, in Pennsylvania, if anybody needs support or help with dyslexia, Vessels of Hope will direct you in the right place. So Rosalind's come up with another message. I skipped high school and went straight to, I can't pronounce that word. Oh dear, maybe you can pronounce it for me.
Culinary school. Culinary school.
What is that? Is that in America?
Yeah, she's like a professional chef. She went to cooking.
I see. Okay, right. Okay. I was laughed at for going that route, but today, to the glory of the Lord, I have a master's degree. Wonderful.
Wow.
That's the kind of stories that just really inspire me. International hospitality management. So that's
wonderful. I commend her. That is wonderful. That is wonderful.
Amazing. And when you hear stories like that, it makes you just want to carry on doing what you're doing. Now I've got Marcia, who's got she said, I've got the best support at college. I left college. I just literally left college because going straight from school to college was like, look, I don't think I can cope with all this. So I went back to education in my sort of mid-30s. In a way, I'm happy I did. I'm glad I did it that way. But Marcia, who's dropped a message just now, a comment just now, she got help in college. So why not ask? If you're going to go to college, go to the student support team and say to them, I need help. Yeah.
What often happens with individuals' learning differences, especially if you're identified in school, meaning high school, elementary school. I don't know about others, our audience out there, but I felt like, okay, I'm out of jail now. I'm not going to tell anybody I have a learning disability. I'm just
Exactly.
going on to college and, make this wonderful life. But what happens is if we don't seek out those support services, as we all know, you will hit that wall.
Yeah.
You'll be in that class. The reading is too much. The paper, the tests are too much. The writing is tremendous, and it's just too much if we all know if we don't have that support. And that's what often happens. Some individuals like, okay, I'm not telling anybody that I have a learning disability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now going to mainstream myself in the population where no one knows that I'm dyslexic or no one knows I have a learning disability. But again, would you tell a person that's in the wheelchair, just go ahead and get up and walk, and now you're normal because you don't need this wheelchair anymore? It's the same thing with us. As long as we have the support services, we have access to the world. And that is it.
Absolutely.
It's just helping us to have that access to the world.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to add and say there are so many phenomenal, amazing Black dyslexics out there doing amazing work. I've just thought I'd drop that in there, both in America and both in the UK. Now, we've only got 5 minutes left, and there's one last question, but I'm burning to ask you. What advice would you give to anyone watching who's got dyslexia?
We touched on a lot of it. Basically, get the help, get the resources, connect look, there's a whole lot of dyslexic social media pages now where you may be able to connect with someone in the area where you are or close to you, whatever that you need. There's a lot of more information out there. And again, if you're African American or if you're Black, and you know that you're dealing with this issue, number one, know that you're not alone. Number two, know that there's help and resources out there available for you. And we want to connect with you because we want to let you know that, again, dyslexia is not your end. It's not anything that's broken in your life or broken in your brain. Because a lot of times we begin to beat up on ourselves as well. We want to let you know, number one, you're not alone. We're here for you. We want to encourage you. We want to get this information out for you. And we want to connect you with the right resources that you need so you can be who God called you to be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. What a brilliant way to end the show. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching today. Next week, we're back again, same time, same place, with Rahim, who will be joining us next week talking about dyslexia and identity. First time we're having a male on the show. Tune in at same time, same place. Dr. Johnson, thank you so much for coming on the show. Now, what we will do is share Dr. Johnson's email address and all her website details at the end of the show. I was going to touch upon that.
Could I just share? I am working on a book for dyslexic adults as well. It's called The Journey of Hope, an everyday guide for adults with dyslexia.
Wonderful.
So we will be sharing that out. And again, it's just an everyday guide. If you're dealing with dyslexia, it's just about tips and tools about how to communicate that with your family, with your friends, at work. Just a little tidbits, nothing heavy to read, but it's information again that I just want to share with anyone who's dealing with it.
Now, don't forget, Dr. Tracy Johnson is also an author. She's got a book coming out. Look out for her book. Thank you so much for joining us, viewers. Take care. Look after yourself. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.